Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Florida Man Cooking. My name's Cooter Pickleberry. This is kind of saltwater hillbilly day off kind of thing. I'm going to make some bread. It's going to be artisan bread using garlic and rosemary, which is just a delicious flavor, delicious aroma. And it's awesome on a grilled cheese sandwich, which we're going to make. And then in addition to that, I'm going to make some oven roasted tomato soup to go with it. So it was cold yesterday morning. Started thinking, man, I could use a fall food. That's a good fall food. Love this stuff. It's easy. It's good. Separate video on the soup, but that'll come out about the same time as this one, so you can kind of watch them both if you want to. Sure appreciate that. Love it if you hit like and subscribe. Thanks for joining us. Let's get underway. Let's go. All right, we're going to start with the rosemary. We got looking for about 3 tablespoons of finely chopped rosemary. So we start by pulling all the sprigs off the stems, and then we just start beating it to death with a knife. It takes a few minutes to get this right. You could probably do it in a grinder of some sort, or maybe a blender or a food processor, but I just stick the old-fashioned way of using a knife. So we get it down, and I want to be kind of accurate on this. I don't want to go too overly rosemary. I don't want to go under, so I made sure I had about 3 tablespoons full, roughly. I just stick that in a little cup. And then the garlic. The garlic, I can't give you a number of cloves to use. It's going to depend on the size of the cloves. These are fairly big ones. I use 5 or 6. It was about right. A lot of people think putting raw garlic in bread isn't going to work. It works great. It cooks in the hot oven, and you don't see any actual garlic in there. You just get the aroma and the flavor and kind of the punch in the face from it. Just chop it up real fine, stick that in a cup. This is all going to mix together with the dry ingredients, and it's absolutely outstanding. So speaking of dry ingredients, here's the big bowl. We're going to stick bread flour in there. You can use all-purpose if you want. I like bread flour for bread. I'm not sure why. I think that's just the way I was taught. A little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar. Remember, the yeast eats the sugar, so you need that. And we'll stick all the dry ingredients in there except the yeast. So I'll give that a good spin around the bowl with a whisk, including the garlic. We want to get that all incorporated. I want a little bit in every bit. So it's going to be, yeast and rosemary and garlic and sugar and salt and flour everywhere. And we'll cut the yeast. I'm using instant yeast. I like it better because you don't have to proof it. You can just dump it in with dry ingredients. Throw the liquid in as long as the liquid's the right temperature. The label says 120 to 130, so I always make sure I do that. And just give it a good stir. Now, when you're done with this, before you throw the liquids in, get rid of the whisk. If you try to whisk it once the liquids are in, you just get a real sticky whisk and it doesn't do anything. So we'll switch to a rubber spatula. Just making sure the water's the right temp. If it's too hot or too cold, it's not as effective. If it's too hot, it'll kill the yeast. If it's too cold, it doesn't work great. So it's looking for 120 to 130 Fahrenheit. I was about 124 right here. I just heated that up for about 90 seconds in the microwave. And then let it cool while I was whisking stuff together. A little bit of olive oil. And then we start whisking. We're looking for what they call a shaggy texture. So it's just going to look like, I've said it before when you're making bread, it kind of looks like bland rope of vieja or just kind of lumpy, Rastafarian hair or something. I don't know. A little bit dry. You can never tell exactly. So I added just a little bit more water. Probably could have used a little more on top of that. And then I stick it in this bowl with a top on it. You can just use a tea towel over a bowl or saran wrap or whatever you want. Got the oven preheating to 450. I preheat the Dutch oven when I do that. So the Dutch oven is hot. You got to remember that. Nothing's in it. You tend to try to touch it. Don't do that. You'll burn yourself. Ask me how I know. Got a piece of parchment paper. Crumple that up. This is a pro tip. If you crumple that paper up, it fits in the Dutch oven better later. So we'll just crumple it up, spread it out. And that just makes it so it doesn't get hard to fit into the Dutch oven. Works really good. You can see that after about 3 hours that bread rose at least twice as big as it was when it went into that container. Spread a little bit of flour on the work surface here so it doesn't stick too bad. I probably could have done a better job of that. And then of course I get it on my hands as well. You can just wet your hands if you don't want to put flour on them. Either way works good. Now we're going to pull that out of the bowl. We're trying not to squeeze all the air out of it, so we're very gently pulling it out. It takes a little bit longer than you'd like just because you want to make sure you get it all. And of course, if I would have greased that bowl beforehand, it'd probably be better. I just incorporated the olive oil in the mixture, but I think, it's not a bad idea to run a stick of butter along that bowl. And there's my big lump of smell great stuff. My hands are still a little bit sticky, so I'll put a little bit more flour on them. And then all I do is I just kind of fold it over itself a few times. And I'm very gentle here. The more you handle this, the more air you squeeze out. The more air you squeeze out, the denser the bread is, and the less bubbles you get in it. You want bubbles, you want the air. That's part of what gives it the texture you're looking for. Sticking to that parchment a little bit, I could have done a better job, like I said, spreading that flour around. And really, we're just going to kind of try to make it into the shape that we want to eventually have a bread loaf of. In this case, I'm going for round, so I just gently push stuff around until I get it to where I want it. It's starting to look like a good ball of bread now. Just trying to make sure you don't have any real shaggy bits up there, unless you want them. If you want shaggy bits sticking out, you can do that too. That gives it a unique look. But this will definitely look like artisan bread when it's done. You'll see that here in just a few minutes. And I got to tell you, if smell-o-vision was a thing, you'd pay to smell this stuff. It just smells great. So grab a knife, we'll just score. I always just score across over the top of it. That just allows some steam to escape and gives it a neater, kind of appealing look when you pull it out of the oven. So now we got in this parchment paper. We're going to use a Dutch oven. I like the Dutch oven idea. If you don't have a Dutch oven, you can get a big metal bowl, do this on a sheet pan, put the metal bowl on top. It'll do the same thing. You're just trying to trap that steam in there that comes out of the moisture in the bread. And that's what gives you that beautiful crust. This works really well. This is a Lodge Dutch oven. They're fairly cheap, and I've had this thing for a long time, and I use it all the time. It's great for bread, but it's great for stews and whatever else you're doing too. So put that paper and try to keep the paper off the top of the bread. It's going to move around a little bit. You don't want the paper to get absorbed into the bread. Put a little bit of more flour on just to make it look cooler when it comes out. Stick the lid on this extremely hot Dutch oven. Stick it back in the 450-degree oven for about 45 minutes. And when the timer goes off, we're going to pull the lid off it and stick it back in for another 5 to 10, 15, whatever it is, whatever kind of crust you're going for. The longer you leave it in, the crustier the top gets. That's looking pretty good right now. I think I went 7 more minutes on this just to darken it up a hair. So we take that whole thing out. And remember, that's hot, man. And the nice thing about the parchment paper is I don't have to touch the hot. I don't even have to touch the bread. I just pull the parchment paper out and we're done. I can get rid of that super hot Dutch oven. And my cutting board is once again made for cutting. So you're going to want to let this cool for a little bit. It's still cooking inside. There's still some wet stuff inside. So you can let that sit for about a half an hour or so, maybe more. And you got that hollow thump on the bottom. That's what you're looking for. That means it's done. Give it a little cut. And you can see we got the bubbles, you got a little bit of rosemary, a little bit of garlic everywhere. It just tastes delicious. I tore a little piece off and just to try the bread alone. Put a little butter on it. It was outstanding. Absolutely delicious. But then I also made a grilled cheese sandwich with it because, you know, I'm a saltwater hillbilly and we eat grilled cheese sandwiches. That's what the loaf looks like. It's absolutely beautiful. That's what the sandwich looks like. And there's a cup of soup there. My next video will be the making of the tomato soup. Have a little bite. You got to dunk the grilled cheese in it because that's how you do it. And it tastes so good, my head got wobbly. Not a good look, by the way. There's the soup. Pretty darn good, too. Thanks for joining us. God bless. All right, I got 3 knuckleheads. I'm out crabbing. This is the first decent trap of the year. I'm going to point down there so you can see it.
It's so beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing Daddy's going to eat tonight. You guys don't get any. You know why?
Because
you're losers!
Yeah!